guys, today I'm gonna start a definitive guide to the Crossbow class, the Arrow Gods, and hopefully we can evolve to Plume Monarch soon. Currently I'm rank 1 in my server, so I have a decent amount of knowledge on how this class works. So first of all, I just want to give you a rundown of what this video will be about. So I'm going to talk about skills. First of all, in PvE and also in PvP, I'm going to talk about what skills are the best for archers and what you can use if you don't have a specific skill, or what you can substitute it with if you're struggling with a certain level, or if you're struggling with a certain boss, what skills can you use to help you defeat it? Or if you're just struggling with mobs, because right now I'm in Chaos 3, sometimes I'm just struggling to simply get past through all the mobs to reach the boss. So I had to find a lot of different combinations for my skills to be able to even make it to the boss. So I will also talk about powers, which powers to use for PvE, PvP. I'm going to talk about Relics, same here for PvE, PvP. I'll talk a little bit about souls as well, and I'll also talk about prayer statue and the overall stats, what you want to aim for. So let's get into it. For skills with PvE, if you have the pink skills, they're pretty much number one. It's a must to use them. I would say Clone Strike is probably the best pink skill for archers right now, for crossbows, because we can create a clone and that tanks damage for us, but also it deals so much damage for us. It's insane. So I would definitely use this all the time in both PvE and PvP if you have it. Blitz Assault is also great because it gives us another 3-second damage immunity shield. It does quite a bit of damage as well. The only downside is it's got a 24-second cooldown, so that might be a bit long, but nevertheless it's a really good skill to have. So if you have that as well, you can always equip it. Blade Pierce, I would say it's still a really good skill, especially for taking down bosses, since you can deal a lot of max HP percentage damage to the bosses. So if you have that as well, you can definitely use it. Okay, I would say for a PvP setup, because that's probably the easiest to talk about first, this is probably what I would run. I would use Clone Strike as always. I would always use also another defensive spell, Shroom Shield. It's actually I really enjoy using this skill. I would also use Disarm. Okay, so I've been hearing a lot from many people. Should I use Disarm or should I use Dazzled? Or sometimes they use both in PvP, and I think that's a big mistake. Because with PvP, we can't manual our skills. So if these go off at the exact same time, Dazzled only stuns for 1.5 seconds. Disarm disarms the target for 3 seconds, right? And Disarm pretty much means they cannot attack you. So it might as well be the exact same thing as a stun. So for me, I would always choose Disarm every single day of the week, as it's pretty much double the duration of Dazzled. The next skill that is really important is also Smoke Bomb, because you do so much extra damage with it. It's quite similar to Wild Gust, so if you don't have Smoke Bomb or you only have Wild Gust, you can use one of the two here. Two skills I would completely avoid for every single class: Heroic Descent and Grim Reaper. They're really just not great skills, and especially for legendary skills. Like the other skills just provide so much more utility, and it's just not worth it at all, really. So let's talk about what other skills you could use in PvP if you don't have these skills. Now, if, let's say, you have these red skills, but you don't have any pink skills yet, you don't have Clone Strike, what can you do? Yeah, well, if you're really struggling on some extra damage and you're just looking for some extra damage, you can actually use Speed Surge, because it boosts attack speed by 30% for 5 seconds, and that's actually quite huge for crossbows, because most of our damage comes from basic attacking and then getting the combo off our basic attack to deal double the amount of damage pretty much. So you could do something like this. If you don't have some of these red skills, these 3 orange skills are pretty good. Actually, Durian Bomb is not so good for PvP, as we don't really need to slow them as they're just standing still. So I would probably use this, easy breezy, maybe instead of here, and then take it slow as well. Ideally, it'd be nice to have 1 stun, like a red skill, so you can stop them from damaging you for a while. If you don't have any red skills, I would highly recommend to try and get one. The skill rush event is coming up soon, so if you don't have one, you can wait until the event and just pull all your tickets and try and get some skills from there. But let's say currently you have no red skills at all, then I would probably run Coin Bomb, because it increases basic attack damage by 35% as well. So something like this could work. Alright, so this is where my video got desynced from the audio last night, so I'm gonna have to refilm the rest of the video again today. So I was just gonna talk about the skills for PvE. This is what I'm running in Chaos 3. I'm using this to get through or on auto pretty much, and then on bosses I manually use my skills because I have Disarm and Dazzled, and I want to time them in a way where they're not overlapping each other. I'm also using Clone Strike. Clone Strike is the #1 damage dealer for me, and I'm using Blitz Assault for the extra shield. For my Relic, I'm also using Immunity Book for an extra damage immunity shield. And also, for powers, I'm using a Tortoise. So that's an extra shield, which works the same way as Shroom Shield, but it only activates once my HP gets below 50%. So I have quite a lot of shields and stuns to try and get through the bosses. So obviously, I know that most people won't have 2 pink skills, right? So if you didn't have, let's say, Blitz Assault, what can you use instead? I would probably use Wild Gust here, just for some extra damage. In the normal mob stages, when you're not challenging the boss, you can replace Dazzled with another skill. You could use Speed Surge here. You could use Take It Slow here as well. Or personally, what I find actually is that sometimes I'm starting to struggle with having enough health to even get to the boss stage. And I find that taking Shroom Shield here has helped me survive and live longer and allow me to get into the boss stages. So in PvE, let's say you weren't so lucky with the skills, or you've just been saving up all this time, as skill rush is I think in a couple days. So we don't have any of these pink skills or red skills maybe. So let's just start off really clean slate. What would you use? Maybe you only had Smoke Bomb. So, or if you didn't have Smoke Bomb, maybe you only had Wild Gust as your first skill. They're really good choices. Disarm is obviously S tier as well. Dazzled slightly under, If you got Heroic Descent or Grim Reaper, I probably wouldn't use those. I would stick to the other skills. So let's say you had, Wild Gust as your only red skill. What else do you run? I would use Take It Slow, Easy Breezy, maybe Durian Bomb, and Shroom Shield. You could replace Durian Bomb with Speed Surge if you're up against a ranged boss, as Durian Bomb is only helpful for slowing targets, and that's only helpful when you're versing slimes or snakes as the boss, and that will make them walk to you slower and they can start attacking you later. Another alternative you can use here is you can use Coin Bomb here. If you find that you're really struggling on surviving, you can even try to use Nature's Renewal here. But when you use Nature's Renewal, you should try to time it in a way where you don't use it while you're on full HP. So then you're wasting its healing effects pretty much. So what you would do if you were on manual mode, you would start off the boss, you try to use Shroom Shield and every other skill because it can be used at the start, but then once you truly start taking a lot of damage, then you use Nature's Renewal. So as an example, I'll just show you how that works, how that looks like. I'm just spamming everything, and once I'm taking damage, I'm using Nature's Renewal. If I had auto on at the start, then I would be healing even though I'm full HP. So I'd be wasting some of that healing effects. And yeah, that current setup does not work for me in Chaos 3 just because I need so much more damage, so much more survivability. So let me show you how I can clear this boss. I use 2 pinks, I use Smoke Bomb for the extra damage, and then I use Disarm and Dazzled to stun. So what I do, I start off with the class skill Melon Drop, Smoke Bomb, and I used Dazzled and I use Clone Strike. Once Dazzled wears off, I use Disarm to keep up the stun chain or disarm, and that means it can't attack me for quite a long time. So once it finally starts attacking and it kills my clone and it starts to actually hit me, then I use my Blitz Assault. So let me just show you here. I'm spamming everything, I'm stunning him. I've got the Clone Strike up here. I use Disarm now, and as you can see, my Clone Strike is still attacking. As soon as it dies, I'm going to use Blitz Assault with a Melon Drop, and then I just leave it on auto. And hopefully that should be enough to get through the boss. And as you can see, yeah, I've gotten through. And these 2 extra shields from Immunity Book and also my Tortoise, it always helps me survive the boss stages a little bit longer. So what can we use for pals? Well, number 1 best pal for archers is the Pirate Octopus. And it increases our combo damage by 60%, and with every 3 combos deal an extra 200% damage. Really huge, as most of our damage is based on combo, which is also why the event Banana Pal is really strong for us as well, as it also increases our combo percentage and combo damage. Now, what else can we use? If you have the Tortoise, yes, I would recommend to use it if you're struggling to survive. If you have the Treasure Dragon, that's also a really strong pal. Not the best for crossbows, but it is definitely up there. If you had the Fox, I probably wouldn't use it. This is more geared towards mages with their stuns, and I wouldn't use the Dog either, as this is geared towards warriors, where counter is the main stat that they want to focus on. If you also had the Wealthy Lizard, you could try to use it. Personally though, I actually found that it hasn't been that strong for me. Even though it's listed as OP in all the PAL tier lists, I've personally felt a loss in damage when I've used Wealthy Lizard, and I think I prefer, just in general, using another POW that gives me a better effect. So for the pretty much must users for crossbows, Hero Bird is really strong as it increases our attack speed by 15%. And the more attack speed that we can get, the better. You can pair that really well with Chicken Hood, since you get an extra 30% to your basic attack damage. So you could run something like this. And then for your final POW, you could use Cactus as well. Or I personally like to use Hydro Sprite, as I want to get my skills back as fast as I can. And for my setup, it's really important that I get my stuns and my shields as quick as I can. So I like to do that. Now, at first, I thought that Cactus was really strong and, probably like one of the best POWs for the crossbow. It's still true, but upon reading this closely, every 3 basic attacks deal an extra 40% damage. And then we read Chicken Hood's. Basic attack damage increased by 30%. So this effect for the Cactus only occurs every 3 basic attacks, while Chicken Hood's effect is on every single basic attack. So if you only had 1 spare slot and you had to choose between Chicken Hood and Cactus, I would probably use Chicken Hood. Some other alternatives that you can use. If you notice that your crit rate, so this is mine, 37%, I have 65% combo rate. If you notice it's slightly low, you can try to go and aim for around a 50% crit rate and around a 70% combo rate. So personally, I actually like to run an eggplant if you're lucky enough to get it at the start of the game. And with that way, it gives you a 10% increase in your crit rate. So now you have a 47% crit rate with 65% combo rate. And that's really a lot closer to the ideal kind of ratios that you want for your stats. Now, if you don't have that, let's say you're really struggling to survive, right? You deal a decent amount of damage, but you don't have enough HP or defense, and you're just dying a lot. Now, this is where you can run a defensive POW. Deer is probably the best, as it gives you an overall damage resistance of 15%. So one of the probably, if not the best defensive POW that you can run on any class. The Snow Sprite can be used in very situational times. However, I would probably still suggest to use another POW. You could use the Snail when you're only versing against melee bosses. I see people actually running Snail in PvP, in Family Brawl. That's completely useless if you think about it. When you're playing in Arena, the enemy that you're versing, they're already standing right in front of you in attacking range. They don't have to walk up to you. And the effect of a Snail is you reduce their movement speed by 40%. So if they're not even walking, then this effect is pretty much useless, right? So this is only good when you're up against melee bosses like slimes and snakes. I would probably not use this anywhere else. So that's a very situational POW. Now you could also use Fiery Tail and increase your skill damage by 60% here, and that really pairs quite well with the Hydro Sprite, which gives you extra cooldown on your skills. And yeah, this is probably what I would run if you obviously didn't have, let's say, the octopus and the banana. I would probably use, let's say, Chicken Hood here, and then maybe the deer here. And if you had enough survivability, you're just looking for some more damage, then go ahead, use the cactus. That works quite well. Fortune Dragon, it can also work. It's decent as well. I would not say it's the best though. So something like this can work quite well. And this setup for powers normally works both for PvE and PvP. You can just kind of stick to the same powers. The only one being Snail, where it's a little bit more situational. So personally for me, what I've been using to get through everything in PvE and PvP, I've been using Octopus, Banana, Hydro Sprite, the Deer for extra defense, and the Tortoise for an extra shield. And because I have enough damage already, I'm just looking for more survivability. And as you can see, it really works even for raids. As you can see, I've done 27,015 billion damage, which is pretty huge. Let's quickly run through relics now. For the most part, you would use the same for the PvE and PvP setups apart from the book. But let's just go through them in order. Now here, you only really have two choices, okay? So you can either use Arrow King Mask for the extra 10% in combo rate, or your Bonded Mask for the extra 10% in crit rate. Now, this depends entirely on your current stats for your crit and combo rate. So let's say your combo rate was at 70% already without, or maybe 80%. And your crit rate was quite low at 25%. I would suggest then to swap your combo mask for the crit rate mask so you can increase your crit and slightly decrease the combo, and I think that'll create a better overall damage output. You want to try and find a good balance between the two stats. Like I said earlier, what you should aim for is around a 50% crit rate and around a 70% combo rate. Remember as well, it's like a slight hack. You can use your eggplant to help you gain an extra 10% crit rate. And then as you can see now, all of a sudden I have more crit rate than my combo, which is actually not very good. So if I was using the eggplant, then I would swap back to the combo mask. And then now I have a 47% with a 65% combo rate, which is, yeah, it's pretty good. For our fossils, there's really, I think, around only two options that are really good. Either Whirlwind Feather or Thundercaller Kite. I think Thundercaller Kite is really more general, and it's really helpful as, you know, we're always using skills and we're always doing damage from our skills. And this additional lightning damage can sometimes help quite a lot. Dragon Weave Circlet is okay, but it's not really for archers. I would not recommend using the Amber Snail either. And you could use the Gilded Eggshell. I actually used this early game when I was running Chicken Hood a lot, as it gave me an extra 1000% damage every 10 seconds. That's actually pretty good. However, I don't use that power much anymore, as I've replaced it with the octopus and the banana and whatever. So personally, right now I'm running with Whirlwind Feather. For your treasures, there are really only 2 to 3 kind of main options that you want to choose. If you're running Cactus, you have to choose Blessed Dew 100% of the time. This increases your Cactus's combo rate. And with this one, if you level it, then your combo rate will actually increase. If you notice, some relics, once you level it, it doesn't increase the stat. So you have to be really careful with which relics you want to level. So I would say, for now, save your relic fragments, or whatever they're called, for the relic rush. During the relic rush, you should try and get as many relics as you can, just so you have a nice option to choose from. And then I would level them kind of equally, with the exception of fossils and treasures. And with these ones, you really want to just focus only on one relic, and you want to get that as high as you can. So personally for me, because I've got the octopus power, I'm using Metamorphic Crystal, but before I was using the Cactus, so I'd use Blessed Dew. If you don't have any of those, I would just use Magic Box, as you can still use the Deer, and maybe you can even equip the Cat Prince for some extra damage when you use your skills. We don't really use Panda, this is more for warriors, so we don't really want Arrow Bamboo. And Blue Snowflake is okay, it's kind of the same as Chicken Hood, but we don't really use Snow Sprite in our power setup either. So this is not really necessary for us. For books, wow, pretty much every book is quite helpful. This is the only book that you should use when you're in PvP, as all the other books apart from the last one, these three don't apply in PvP, as these are only situational when we're versing bosses. So I would always equip the Flame book in PvP. I wouldn't use this, as this is just a 5% boost to your resistances, and I think as a crossbow, our main thing to focus on is to deal as much damage as we can. So I would say a Flame book is better. If you were a warrior, you want to live as long as you can, so I would use this Stonegrit Tomb instead. Now, if you're versing bosses and you're surviving and you just want to do some more damage, then I would use Beasthide Book, as it increases our damage by 20%, which is quite huge. If you notice that you're dying a lot, then I would recommend using Immunity Book, as it gives us a shield once we drop below 70% HP for the first time. Also, the Healing Book is actually really good as well for the Big Grumpy raid, because we restore 10% of lost HP every 5 seconds, and that's really great for a raid that lasts for 10 minutes, as we're gonna keep constantly getting our health back, so we can end up doing more damage. For statues, I think there are two main ones that you should be looking out for. We've got the Time statue, where it extends the effect duration of Disarm, Dazzled, and Smoke Bomb by 50%. Absolutely huge, because all three of these skills are like SS tier for actually every single class. So if you had this, your Disarm is now, instead of 3 seconds that they can't attack you, it's now 4.5 seconds. And Dazzled, it goes from 1.5 seconds to 2.25 seconds. So 4.5 seconds plus 2.25 seconds, it's almost 7 seconds where the boss cannot do anything to you. That's freaking huge. If you did not have that, and you're more in the early stages of the game, because these are all red skills, you only have the orange skills, then this is really good as well. Durian Bomb, easy breezy, take it slow, you're boosting the effects by 30%. So that's also a really good statue. Obviously, if you don't have the two, maybe you only had energy statue, just use it, that's fine. It just increases the damage a little bit. It's not going to do much of a difference in the long run, but you know, any damage increase is still an increase. Crystal statue, not really useful, I would say, for us, for crossbows. And Stellar statue, well, that's kind of ultra late game once we start unlocking all the other pink skills. But for now, I think I would stick to Time statue or Cage statue, depending on where you are currently at. And finally, we've got necklaces. If you have Clone Strike, you should use Storm Necklace 100%. An extra 30% increase onto your Clone Strike damage. That's so big. I shredded through Chaos 1 and 2, and for most bosses I actually didn't even take any damage at all, because my Clone Strike would just kill them before they could even start attacking me through the first 7 seconds of my Disarm and my Dazzled. Crimson Sickle Necklace is actually also really good, because it's another heal, and if you have Wild Gust or Blade Pierce, you restore some HP. And that's actually really helpful because with Nature's Renewal, that's our only real healing skill. But it takes up a full slot and it's got quite a long cooldown. I think it's around 25 seconds. So that's quite a long cooldown. And it only heals, right? But with Wild Gust, we get an increase in our attack by 15% for 5 seconds. So this is actually quite a good necklace to use as well if you have Wild Gust equipped. If you have Blitz Assault, then I would use Spirit Necklace. And these are all the late game skills, so I won't talk about these for now. But yeah, I think for Necklace, it's really a bit more situational, just depending on what skills you have available to you right now. What are you equipping? And try and match it with the Necklace. Just to note, don't use Shield Necklace because Grim Reaper is not a good skill, so we don't need to boost its damage. It's not worth it. And yep, that's it for Relics. Now we'll quickly look at souls. So there are a couple of souls that you really want to focus on as archers. The main one being combo damage, obviously, as combo will be our main source of damage. Personally, I don't have a red combo soul yet, so I'm just using the yellow one. Attack bonus is always really good as well, and as you can see, if you have a red soul and you level it up, the difference is huge. Look how much percentage increase I get just from a level 13 red soul. 16,000. And then once you level up one time, it increases by 1,300%. So it's really huge compared to a yellow one, which is around 20% combo damage. Obviously it's a bit different because it's different stats, but you should still be able to see if you do have a red soul and it's more offense oriented, try to level it as much as you can. So other stats that you want to be leveling is basic attack damage and crit damage bonus as well. A good kind of benchmark to aim for crit damage would be probably around 500%. The higher the better, obviously. So if you had 50% crit rate and 500% crit damage, I think you'll be sitting quite comfortably there. And then the rest of the skills, we have HP bonus, defense bonus, crit resistance, and the last one, which is counter damage. Counter damage is not helpful for us as this is geared towards warriors. I would say crit resistance is not that helpful for us either. We just want to do more damage. You can level a little bit of defense and HP bonus if you have a red soul for that. So as you can see, I got a defense bonus. I got a defense red soul, so I've leveled it up a little bit, but I don't want to focus most of my resources onto that. I'd prefer to just focus onto my basic attack damage, my overall attack, or my combo, or my crit damage. So those are the 4 attributes that you want to focus on. Our final topic will be on Prez statue. The number 1 most important thing to focus on is combo damage here. The other 2 stats you're looking for is crit damage and global attack. So in an ideal situation, it would be nice to get 3 of your affixes to be global combo damage, and then you would have for your other 2 maybe 2 crit damage, or 1 crit damage, 1 attack, or 2 attack. You could also have 4 combo and then 1 crit damage, but just a combination of that, it would be really nice. Also, don't sleep on mining. This tech park is really helpful in increasing your overall stat boost for your HP, attack, and defense. As you can see, it's a 1200% increase every upgrade. It's really expensive, but it's really helpful in your overall damage boosts. I'm just going to talk about the attributes quickly. What kind of benchmarks you should be aiming for. For crit rate, like I've said, around 50% is really nice. It's a good spot to be in. For combo rate, around 70% is really nice. Obviously, try and find the most ideal numbers for these two. You can use your relic here, your masks, to kind of help you achieve a nicer combo and crit rate for that. We also are looking for crit damage. Around a 500% crit damage is a nice benchmark to be at. And then also with combo multiplier, anything above 3000 I think is a good place. If you're under, maybe you're only at 1000 or 2000, I would try to think of more ways to increase it. The biggest ones are being right now prayer statue, and also actually souls help quite a lot in increasing that combo multiplier. And then apart from that, yes, I would say focus on your overall HP, defense, and obviously your attack bonus. Attack bonus should be your #1 priority, as we are archers and we want to deal as much damage as we can. So yeah, that's it for my guide. I really hope that this has been helpful. I know this was quite a long video and it's quite patchy, there's bits and pieces everywhere, but I'm going to create timestamps throughout the video so you can find everything easier. If I've helped you at all, please like, comment and subscribe. I really appreciate it. I'm going to try and create videos every single day. I'm going to upload every single day, and I'm going to try and create maybe a warrior guide and a mage guide in the future. And then also I'll try and do some guides on the best optimal setup for the raids, the family raids, and also abyssal portals and stuff like that. So stay tuned for that. Thanks for watching. I'll see you next time. Peace.